question is for you. Who were the winners of the first round of the NHL Draft?
Well, I think the first winner. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. It was the New York Rangers for winning the lottery and getting Alexis Lafreniere. I mean, they were a team that qualified for the playoffs. They were a team that many people thought might be a dark horse candidate to win the Stanley Cup or at least come out of the Eastern Conference. And that certainly didn't happen. And then Quentin Byfield going to the LA Kings, who moved up in the draft. They were supposed to pick 5th overall if it was just a draft in order of the way you finished, worst to first, so to speak. But really, I have to look at the Ottawa Senators really being the winners. I mean, they get Stützle, they get Jake Sanderson, and then they just did very, very well. I mean, they were able to replenish their stock great. I really think that a few years from now, I think the tide will turn in the Atlantic Division, and I think you're going to see Detroit and Ottawa be the two teams that might be going neck to neck. I mean, you've got to be really impressed with the Senators. Stützle is a budding star, and Jake Sanderson, obviously, even though Drysdale went right behind him, he was moving up in the charts. So and being picked at 5th. So you got to tip your cap to the Senators.
All right, I like that. One day we'll be looking at the Red Wings and the Senators as the best two teams in the division. I want to thank Labatt Blue Light for presenting today's show. And Ken, we're going to move on to your question. Were there any surprises in the first round of the NHL Draft?
Well, actually, I got like 4 surprises, and one was a minor surprise. I guess nobody expected the Red Wings to take Lucas Raymond, but, after looking at the video and hearing Chris Draper and Steve Yzerman talk, I think the Red Wings made a good pick, a good selection. So that was kind of a minor surprise to a lot of fans out there. The other surprise is Marco Rossi. I really thought he would have gone earlier in the draft, but he ended up going to the Minnesota Wild at number 9. And this guy is going to be a very talented player, and he's going to help Minnesota. He's only 5'9", but he's stocky, and I hear he's a beast in the weight room. So we talked about Lucas Raymond maybe adding some muscle. This guy's already there. So he's going to be a guy that you really want to follow over the next couple of years. I think he's going to be really good. The other surprise I'm thinking about is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe they tried to make a deal to try and move up, but to me, the Maple Leafs have a lot of assets. I don't understand why they couldn't get a deal done to get a goaltender. We talked about Askarov all the time, and maybe he's the goaltender of the future. Now, is Toronto going to be one of those teams that has a lot of talent but never a good goaltender? The Philadelphia Flyers were like that for many, many years. So I was a little bit surprised that the Maple Leafs didn't move up. Maybe they did try. Maybe I don't know about it, but that certainly was a surprise. And my final surprise are the Columbus Blue Jackets. They picked a guy by the name of Igor Chinakhov, and he wasn't even on the top 100 prospect board. He had people scrambling, when they picked him. So, he's 21 years old. They took a guy that nobody really knows anything about, but apparently the Columbus Blue Jackets scouts like him, and we'll see what happens and how he develops in the next several years.
Ken, we're going to talk a lot about Lucas Raymond in the show leading up to the second round of the NHL Draft, but I want to ask you one question. You mentioned that Chris Draper and Steve Yzerman addressed the media last night after the first round was completed. Chris Draper said something interesting, and it's something that we didn't talk about yesterday, which, of course, we were all reacting to the pick of Lucas Raymond, but Nicholas Kronwall is in Sweden, and he's going to be the guy that's the first one contacting Lucas Raymond and the first one that's working with him. How cool is that? I think that's a great guy to be the first one for Lucas Raymond to get to know.
I think that's imperative that he has a good relationship with Nicholas Kronwall right away. And if Nicholas Lidstrom can get in there and help him out too, that would just be gravy, wouldn't it? But I'll tell you what, anytime you can get a star player that excelled in the National Hockey League like Kronwall did for many, many years, and you get him to take the youngster under the wing and help him out a little bit, I think that's just going to help out Lucas Raymond's development.
It definitely will. A great person, like I said, for Lucas Raymond to meet first for the Red Wings organization. And you guys, we've got a lot of great players on the Red Wings who had big draft days. Carly Johnston caught up with Dylan Larkin earlier this week to talk about what his draft day was like.
Hey, Hockey Town, Carly Johnston here, joined by Dylan Larkin ahead of the NHL Draft. How's it going, Dylan?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Nice to finally get to talk to you again.
Yeah, I know. It's good to see your face, I guess. And although we're still virtual, but it's good to be talking about the NHL draft.
I know exciting things ahead, but let's talk about your draft experience first. You were drafted by your hometown team in the 2014 NHL entry draft. What was that moment like hearing your name called by your hometown team?
It was really cool. You know what, I had been sitting there, and it was the 15th pick, and I wasn't projected to go anytime soon. But I remember looking to my dad, who was sitting next to me, and my mom, and my brother was on the other side, and I was just like, how cool would this be? And my mom was kind of like, she was very nervous. I think she was gripping my arm when Ken Holland went up to announce, and it just was pretty crazy when they said from the U.S. program. I knew there was a few of us that were going to be drafted in the first round, but I just kept getting more and more excited. And when they announced my name, I was just trying not to fall going down the stairs. And it was one of those moments you're so excited, you're so happy, you don't really take a second to look around and really enjoy it. You just try and get the jersey and get out of there and meet everyone. But it was a little bit of a blur, but just such a great experience, great memory.
Beautiful. What was the day like from the moment you woke up? I mean, was it an early day, or what was the process like?
You know what? It was in Philadelphia, so it was pretty cool. I do remember it's a long day. It's the draft starts at 7 o'clock, and I didn't really do much that day. I remember just sitting around, hanging around the hotel room. Got pretty anxious around 3 or 4 o'clock. So I had a lot of family there. I think the previous couple days I was pretty busy with my agent. We were going around and doing some last minute interviews, and but that day I do remember it was slow, and my dad and I we did our own mock draft and in the room just to kill time, and did a little sightseeing in Philadelphia. But I just remember how long of a day it was, and how it seemed like it would never get there.
And you mentioned having your family there. Was it just your immediate family, or who did you get to have there to share that special moment with you?
Yeah, it was my family, and we travel in a big group, so there was a lot of family and close friends. I had family drive from southern Indiana to come, and family from Toronto and Milwaukee. So it was pretty cool. It was very special, and there was probably about close to 30 people there, and some people came that I wasn't expecting. So it was a great memory, and a great time after. I remember going through all the media, and takes longer than you think, going through all the stuff you have to do when you get drafted. But when I came out of that, and they were all waiting for me, it was really special just to see everyone. Both my grandmas were there, and just a great moment.
Do you feel for this year's draft class a bit not really getting that experience that you had to do the draft virtually?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I bet it's even tougher, right? It's more anxious, more sitting at home and waiting. And when you're there in Philadelphia, you get to do other things. Or it was supposed to be in Montreal this year. That you could do different things and break up the day and make it a little bit of a family trip and kind of a celebration of how far you've come and what the next phase of your life could look like. And I do feel for those guys, but at the end of the day, you're worried about where you're getting drafted, and I'm sure at home, hopefully safely, these guys can enjoy it with the close ones and their loved ones, and figure out where they're going to be drafted.
Absolutely. An exciting and I'm sure nerve-wracking time for these kids, as you would know. Do you have any words of advice for the kids getting drafted?
No. I guess all the work is done, right? So you just sit back and enjoy, and it's pretty much out of your control, and just enjoy it with your family and friends, and use it as a little bit of a celebration of how far you've come and how the people have helped you get there. But also, you don't make the NHL from sitting at home being drafted. So, or what someone told me is it's what you do the day after the draft that matters. So.
Love it. Love it. All right, Dylan, thank you so much for catching up with me. Hopefully this offseason doesn't last much longer so we can see you and the Red Wings draft pick at Little Caesars Arena very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Carly.
Lucas Raymond can now share some of those draft day memories, just like Dylan Larkin. Before we talk more about Lucas Raymond, you guys, we've got to announce our Labatt Blue Light Grand Prize winner, and it is the only fan that predicted Lucas Raymond would be taken at number 4 by the Detroit Red Wings. Joe Nagorski, congratulations, our Labatt Blue Light Grand Prize winner. And now we're going to get back to Lucas Raymond. He is known for his playmaking ability. He joined us last night on our draft special. Here's what he had to say about being a playmaker.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a bit more playmaker. I'm trying to work a lot right now on taking more shots and trying to get into that area where you can take the shots and really take more shots, more of a shooting mentality. But I'd still say I'm a bit more playmaker than a shooter, maybe.
So Art, you hear Lucas Raymond saying that he thinks he is more of a playmaker than a goal scorer. Is playmaking his biggest strength?
Well, I think listening to Steve last night, Steve Yzerman, when he addressed the media, he really seemed to like his overall game, meaning that he not only is he a playmaker, but he's also a goal scorer. He's very responsive defensively. And, Steve said it again, and this is something that Chris Draper harped on too. It's that hockey IQ. It's that he has a good feel for the game. He's able to anticipate plays. And I still think that's the number one criteria that the Red Wings look when they're drafting. And so Lucas Raymond, I think when they sat down, there might be some guys that, had a red check because they did something really well. But I think Lucas Raymond probably had, maybe not red checks, but, off red checks or something because he did everything great. And I think that they see growth and I think they see potential. They know that he's going to get bigger. So, again, as Kenny said earlier, I think when you really look at the overall package and what he brings to the table and the Red Wing philosophy of what kind of player they really look for and the player that they go after, the way they want to build their team, Lucas Raymond is the perfect fit at number 4. I don't want to keep harping on the first 3 that went in the draft, but probably one of them would have been a Red Wing ahead of Lucas Raymond. But that does not mean that Lucas Raymond does not have the potential to grow into. And Steve doesn't throw stuff around at all. I mean, he's pretty grounded and pretty serious. But when he said we think that he has, the skill set to, become an elite forward in the National Hockey League, when Steve Yzerman says that, you better be listening because he just doesn't throw that stuff around.
Art, Lucas Raymond received a lot of warm welcomes into Detroit. He also received one from now his future teammate, Filip Zadina, was really happy to see that Lucas Raymond will now be a Detroit Red Wing. Check that out. He said, welcome to Detroit. That's great. I think Filip Zadina is excited. I think I saw Joe Veleno post about it. Dylan Larkin posted about it. So they're all pretty excited, aren't they?
Well, Filip Zadina wants that puck, and he needs a puck, someone to distribute that puck to him, and it sounds like Lucas Raymond's going to be that guy. Let's face it, the Phil, as we call Filip Zadina, you got to love this guy. Great personality. He loves life. He's just a very, I think when he was drafted, not to get off on a Zadina tangent here, that, he went down, he fell to the Red Wings at 6. I was extremely happy. I was ecstatic that they were able to get Zadina because he's a goal scorer. I still think he has the best shot on the team. Sorry, Big Tony. Sorry, the BT Express. But I still think that Zadina's shot is just high quality. Not that Mantha's isn't, but I think Zadina's a little bit better. He's really looking for somebody to distribute the puck to him. I think Zadina had some growing pains. It was a little bit tougher. The AHL is a real tough league. I think guys kind of undersell that when they're playing there. They think they're going to go dominate. He didn't do that. He learned his lesson. So I think Zadina's poised to be an elite forward. And I really do think that he's really happy that he's going to have somebody of the caliber of Lucas Raymond, who he has played against, in world competition. I think he's like excited because he knows what the Red Wings have in Lucas Raymond, and he can't wait to get on the ice with him.
Art, you also briefly touched on this. Lucas Raymond's critique, so to speak, is his size. He is a little bit smaller. Some people say he is undersized. Here's what he had to say when he asked him about it.
Yeah, I gained a lot of pounds during this summer, and got really stronger as well, which I feel a lot in this early beginning in the year. I really feel like I've been able to translate that over to the ice, and I try to play with a lot of speed and not really relying on my size. But I think if you can get a size, you can really take advantage of that too. But I try to play with as much speed as possible, trying to be agile, and so I think that's my main strength and what helps me as well with my play.
Ken, we know that Lucas relies on his speed, but he is set to put on some weight over the summer. Hopefully he can, I say summer as the draft was in June. I should say this fall. He is trying to put on some weight here. Is that the biggest weakness that you see in him, or what else do you think he needs to improve on?
Well, first and foremost, I agree with Art in the fact that if I'm a player on the Red Wings, I want a guy that's going to feed me the puck all the time so I can get my numbers up. So Filip Zadina has to be licking his chops right now and hoping that he plays on the same line with him. You know what? Yeah, he's going to grow. It's a natural process. You're 18 years old, and you're going to continue to grow over the next couple of years. And, I think that if you do have a lot of skill and you're smart and you have a lot of good hockey IQ and hockey sense, you can get away from some of those situations. The big problem I see maybe perhaps is in the corners. You're going to have to, if you're a winger, you're going to have to go in the corners and somehow try to win the battle. But sometimes those smart players know how to leverage their body, even though they might need a few pounds in the next couple of years, and they're smart and they can come away with the puck. So knocking players off balance. So I don't see that's going to be a problem. The one thing I think about the Red Wings right now is I think Steve Yzerman likes the fact that he's going with skilled hockey players. And when he was part of the Stanley Cup championship teams here in Detroit, Daniella and Art, that's what the Red Wings drafted. They drafted skill, high-end players, and I certainly see that in Lucas Raymond.
Art, you already alluded to this as well, that he is going to bring some playmaking to this Detroit Red Wings team. And we heard Steve Yzerman talk a little bit about this last night in his press conference. He believes that Lucas Raymond will stay in Sweden for the entire season this year. And hopefully next season we'll see him in Detroit. But let's talk about that timeline. Art, what do you think the timeline is for when Lucas Raymond will be a Detroit Red Wing?
Well, based on what Steve said and actually Chris Draper last night, I mean, everything's a little bit up in the air. They may not see him in person, the Red Wings staff, because of travel restrictions until the World Junior Tournament, which is going to be played in a bubble in Edmonton, much like the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think at that point, once they actually get to see him face to face, they're probably going to figure it out. But I'm going to go back to what Lucas Raymond told us last night. He's looking fall 2021 to be a Red Wing. You know what? I like that kind of talk. By that time, he's now listed officially in the Red Wing press release at 5'11", 170 pounds. So if he can be, I would like to say 5'12", but maybe he'll grow to 6 feet. And
12.
He'll be. Sorry, Danielle. I was just joking around there. But maybe eventually he gets up to 6 feet and he's like 185 pounds. Then you've got yourself that playmaker that the Red Wings crave.
We are all looking forward to see what the timeline is for Lucas Raymond. We're going to get back to some of our current Red Wings draft days. Carly Johnston also caught up with Anthony Mantha earlier this week.
Hey, Red Wings fans, Carly Johnston here with Anthony Mantha, head of the NHL Draft. How's it going, Anthony?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Nice to finally talk to you again.
Seriously, it's been a minute.
I know. All right, so I want to talk to you about the day you were drafted back in 2013, 7 years ago. Can you believe it?
Lucky 7.
All right. So 2013, you were drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. What was running through your head when you heard Kenny Holland call your name at pick 20?
Gosh, I think the whole draft was just a blur, kind of blacked out. You're hoping every pick to hear out your name, and then Kenny finally said it, and it was just a rush of emotions through the body with the family. So can't describe it.
Okay, so I understand I know your family and maybe some close friends took a bus, correct me if I'm wrong, from Val-d'Or, Quebec to New York where you were staying for the trip. What was that whole experience like?
It was hard to set up, but it was awesome. It was basically family and friends and my billet family from Val-d'Or. They hopped onto the bus, drove down to Montreal, which is about 7 hours, picked us up. So when I say us, I say me, my close family, my close friends, everyone that lives in the Montreal area. And so we were about 45 to 50 people on that bus and made our way up to New York, which was about 7 or 8 hours, if my memory is good.
That is a hike. Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand your grandfather was at the draft and he played for the Red Wings at one point in his career. How special was it that you got drafted by a team that he had played for?
It was awesome. Actually, back in the days, he was telling me that they didn't have any draft. So basically, when I got drafted was just kind of his draft in this sense, meaning like he just enjoyed the whole day and the whole experience that came along with it.
Living through you a bit, I guess.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay. Do you feel for this year's draft class, they don't exactly get that experience that you're getting with having to do the draft remotely?
Obviously, but I mean, there's nothing we can do. I worked out with Lafreniere last summer, so for him, it was kind of a bummer, like all the hopes are around him right now. And obviously, he would have loved to hear his name. All the kids would have loved to hear their names. So don't get me wrong, but with all the hopes around Lafreniere, he was just hoping for a big day.
Right. I understand that. Do you have any words of advice for the kids getting drafted?
Gosh, I mean, this year is obviously completely different, but if not, it's just to enjoy the experience. For me personally, it was the best day in my career. There's nothing that compares to it, except maybe the first goal, but we could argue about that one.
All right, beautiful. Anthony, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me. I can't wait to see you at Little Caesars Arena, hopefully soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Great to hear from Anthony Mantha. We know Lucas Raymond will soon be joining him on the Red Wings, but we're about to find out who the Red Wings will be taking in the rest of the draft. The Red Wings have 9 more picks in the 2020 NHL Draft, including 3 second-rounders and the first pick of the second round at pick 32. Let's talk about that one. Art, I want to ask you specifically, what players are you looking at for the Red Wings to take at 32?
There's a lot of them. I mean, if you really look at some of the players that were passed up and, when Columbus went way off the board, I mean, that just opened it up even more. I really think that that Chris Draper said they know who they're going to pick at 32. They're very, very happy with that player. I guess it could change overnight depending if teams want to move up to that 32nd spot. But there's actually, I'm going to go one defenseman and I'm going to go one forward. The defenseman I'm going to go for is Ryan O'Rourke, who is a big guy and has really good offensive upside and a little bit of jam to his game. He's a little bit mean. And then I might go off the board for a forward, and maybe because this is why I'm still Stützle obsessed. But it's John. You know what? Let's the wonders of aging. John Jason Peterka. He is a German forward. He is a sniper, a pure sniper. Can score from all over the place. I still think. Steve has the playmaker and a guy who can score goals in Lucas Raymond, but I also think that he still wants to get that sniper, and Peterka fills that bill. He's German player. Germany is the up-and-coming nation in hockey. I'm just not saying it because of Mo Seider and Stützle, and then Leon Draisaitl was the MVP of the league this year, but those are the 2 players I'm looking at.
And Ken, the Red Wings have already addressed the playmaking ability in Lucas Raymond in the first round. So with their second round, third round, and later round picks, what do you think they will address?
Well, you know what? I think they're still going to go to the forward position. They're still going to try to find some offense, as Art mentioned, and why not? They've selected some really good defensemen over the past couple of years, and round out your prospects by going with some offense. And one of the guys I was looking at is a guy that he's 176 pounds. He's 6 foot. His name's Jan Misak, and he's one of those guys that can find the open areas on the ice around the net, and he's got some smooth hands and thinks the game well, and he's got a quick release too. So, Red Wing fans out there, keep your eye on him. But I just think that they're going for skill, and maybe in the last couple of years they selected some guys who are a little bit bigger and taller, like Soderblom, who's like 6'7", who I think is going to be a pretty good Red Wing down the road. But I just think that the skill positions are what the Red Wings are looking at right now.
All right, Art, one last question for you before we end the show and get to the second round of the NHL draft. The Red Wings need goaltending. Are they going to draft a goaltender? And if so, when will that be?
I think that the goaltender will be in the second round. I think it'll be the last pick in the second round, which I believe is, again, the wonders of aging. I would say probably right around 55. The 45, 40, 55, they have this 32nd pick. They're not going to take a goaltender with that pick. I think sometime in the second round they're going to take a goaltender. I know all my buddies in Guelph want it to be Nico Doss. I'm not sure it's going to be him. There's a lot of goaltenders available, a lot of good goaltenders available, and it does seem that since Steve has been general manager, the Red Wings kind of like a little bit of a European flavor to their draft. That's just the way it's probably played out. That's what he would say, but I think sometime in the second round.
Ken, I'm going to give you one last question as well. The Red Wings have, like I said, 9 picks remaining in this draft. Do you see the potential for the packaging of some picks for a trade or any kind of moves in that matter?
I don't think so. I think that if there's going to be a move made, it's going to be Friday after free agency starts, and that's when you'll see some wheeling and dealing. I think the concern of the Red Wings right now, and for Steve Yzerman, is to do the best he can with the next available picks and then work to free agency from there. Now, once you draft those players, maybe perhaps those are the type of players that other teams want, and maybe Friday you can make a deal and pick someone up and that can help your team right now, and then you lose the future of the other players. But I don't see any big deals. I think the concern right now is just drafting and making sure that they go after their needs, and that's what we're going to see today.
Well, gentlemen, that is all the time we have before the second round begins in the 2020 NHL Draft. I know you're both excited and need to get to a TV ASAP to watch the Red Wings make their picks.
Absolutely.
Very excited.
Art is way more excited than he just sounded, you guys. I'm kind of disappointed in his response. You should have seen him this morning.
And I haven't even had any coffee yet. I am excited. You know what? They're going to get a good player at 32. I think I think, and I agree with Kenny. The Red Wings are trying to still build their nucleus. I don't think they're going to trade any picks either.
All right, well, we will find out. The second round of the draft begins in just minutes. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join us for our NHL draft coverage presented by Labatt Blue Light. It's been great being here with you. We're all excited. Make sure you're staying tuned to Red Wings social media for all of the draft updates. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.